Not only did she win the competition, she returned the cash. Without hesitation, she returned a $500,000 check that she had earned with perseverance, effort, and every doubt the world hurled at her. The tennis world wasn't the only one shocked by what transpired next. It completely changed the definition of what an athlete should stand for. The girl who joined the WTA 100 as the first Filipino did not pursue fortune. The universe rushed after her as soon as she pursued significance. Nobody anticipated this story. The action that no sponsor anticipated, and the legacy that silenced all of Alexandra Aya's detractors. Some athletes rise in the rankings. Then there are athletes that completely change the course of a sport. On May 23, 2005, Alex Eala was born in Manila, Philippines, a country without a Grand Slam history, a WTA tradition, or a model for developing elite women's tennis professionals. Her ascent was designed to be unlikely in every way. Every factor, geography, resources, and tradition, acted against her. Nevertheless, she was already serving as a brand ambassador for Globe Telecom at the age of 8. Not for tennis accomplishments, but just for unadulterated, unquestionable presence. The executives who signed her were unable to express precisely what they observed. All they knew was that they were witnessing something exceptional. In 2018, she moved to Manacor, Spain, to attend the Rafa Nadal Academy. A 13-year-old Southeast Asian girl enters one of Europe's most rigorous training facilities with the offspring of well-known tennis dynasties. The burden of a whole country's sports heritage rested on her shoulders as she carried just one luggage. She didn't flinch. She won the Australian Open Junior Doubles Championship in 2020. She became the first Filipino in history to win the U.S. Open Junior Singles title by 2022. According to the Rafa Nadal Academy, she is a player who shown that despite years of arduous development, neither she nor her family ever voiced a single complaint. Finish the quote. Junior titles, meanwhile, are but rumors. WTA points, prize money, and rankings are the only metrics used in the real world of professional tennis. And she almost broke scores of talents before her on her path from junior prodigy to professional force. Eala resisted that destiny. She worked hard on the ITF circuit in 2023 and 2024, winning titles in Victoria Gusts, honing her skills, and improving her floor. She was ranked 143rd in the world at the end of 2024. Promising and respectable, but the sport has previously shown promise. She was going to do something in Miami that no one had witnessed. WTA 1000 Miami Open, March 2025. Eala entered on a wild card, which is an invitation given to talented players who don't have the rating to immediately qualify. Usually, wildards are eliminated in the first or second round. The competition was fierce, and the draw was cruel. She defeated Madison Keys, who was ranked 5th in the world at the time, and Yelena Ostapenko. Then, she overcame Iga Swiatek, the world's second-ranked 5-time Grand Slam champion, in a match that went viral on social media from Manila to Madrid. That night, the Philippines was awake. She became the first Filipino in history to reach the WTA 1000 semifinals. She was ranked 75th at the end of the competition. In just 1 week, she had risen 68 spots in the rankings. Every stroke was observed by Tony Nadal, the first director of the Rafa Nadal Academy. He made a measured but impactful assessment. She refused to back down and confronted Swiatek. She has the potential to be among the greatest in the world if she gets her act together. The world had finally taken attention, but they were still unaware of the extent of Alexandra Aya's inner turmoil. Let's fast forward until autumn of 2025. Eala became the first Filipino to win a WTA Challenger-level championship when she won her first WTA 125 title at the Guadalajara Open in Zapopan, Mexico. She had debuted in the main draw of the French Open. At the U.S. Open, she defeated Clara Tolson to win the first Grand Slam singles match ever documented by a Filipino. At number 50, her year-end ranking reached a career high. Then came the competition, the moment, and the choice that nobody in the world of professional tennis could have predicted. Eala won the $500,000 prize money associated with her performance at a WTA event, where she battled through 3 rounds of incredible tennis against opponents with higher rankings. This sum was more than her total career earnings before Miami put together. That number had a great deal of personal significance for a 20-year-old athlete from a nation where the median household income is about $5,000 annually. It was freedom, financial stability, tangible evidence of all the sacrifices her family had made, all the flights her team had financed, and all the late-night court sessions in Manacor. It took her a full day. The tournament's official charitable foundation, a fund devoted to expanding junior tennis access in underrepresented regions of Southeast Asia and Latin America, would receive the entire prize money, Eala declared in a statement made public through her verified accounts. There was no news conference with photographers positioned behind her. There isn't a long announcement that builds tension over several days. Just a clear, concise statement. The communities that needed the money more than she did at the moment should have received it. Something significant was crystallized by the reasons she offered in the sentence. Every girl who was told tennis wasn't for her, and every junior player who couldn't afford a ticket to a qualifying competition. This is intended for them. I used to be that girl. I can still clearly recall the cost of believing when nothing around you supports it. The world of tennis froze. A few weeks prior, Sky Sports host Gigi Salmon had said that Eala might already be the biggest celebrity in terms of worldwide appeal and fan fascination. However, this went beyond charisma. Character was functioning at a level that most professional athletes are never able to attain. The announcement was immediately registered on social media. It was seismically loud. You saw something truly unprecedented if you were in the vicinity of an online tennis community within those first 48 hours. Within 6 hours, the hashtag linked to her announcement became trending in 17 different nations. After Eala's debut in Miami, her fan pages, which had already expanded significantly, exploded. Filipinos living overseas disseminated the news on all platforms. Comments flooded in at the same time, not only from tennis enthusiasts but also from public personalities, educators, charity workers, and youth coaches who had no prior involvement with the sport. However, not everyone rejoiced right away. Pointed questions were made by a group of experts and observers, some of whom had good intentions and others who were just contrarians. For an athlete who is still developing her profession, was this financially responsible? Eala stayed outside of the elite players' guaranteed prize tier at number 50 in the globe. She continued to travel with a coaching staff. She continued to participate in competitions where a first-round defeat would result in little recompense. Sports economists offered their opinions. Returning prize money, according to a widely circulated opinion piece, set a standard that lower-ranked athletes could not match and unintentionally glorified financial sacrifice in a field where female athletes make less than male athletes on almost every comparable surface. Opinion was strongly divided during the debate. The decision's ethics were a hot topic in tennis journalism circles. Was this a deliberate branding strategy, an act of sheer generosity, or a cultural statement based on Filipino principles of social responsibility? The news was criticized by several critics for being performative philanthropy, which is charity that prioritizes visibility over impact. However, the probing of Eala's objectives immediately caused those voices to become uneasy because it ran straight into the character's verified truth. This athlete has no track record of spectacle. This was a person who won junior titles without press entourages, trained in silence for years, and conducted interviews with a directness that felt almost disarmingly humble for someone of her caliber. Concurrently, the disinformation angle also exploded. In 2025, social media was already a battlefield of made-up ALN narratives. False claims of a $45 million Wilson deal, a $10 million children's charity donation, and a made-up Emirates Airlines partnership are just a few examples of the bizarre situation where a genuine act of extraordinary generosity is vying for credibility against months of made-up ones. After spending the entire year disproving fake ALS charities, fact-checking websites were suddenly confirming a real one. Journalists covering both aspects of her tale were aware of the irony. During those first 24 hours, her real sponsors, Nike, Babolat, Globe Telecom, Bank of the Philippine Islands and locally Juice were noticeably silent. They didn't stay silent very long. This is the point at which the story completely stopped being about tennis. Three of AL's current sponsors released remarks within 72 hours of the news. These were sincere, forceful declarations of increased collaboration rather than careful, calibrated corporate releases safeguarding brand equity. Nike, which has been her outfitter since 2019 and gave her a saga hair tie for her Wimbledon debut, as well as a limited edition shirt inspired by Eala created by Filipino artist Georgina Camus, announced a revised agreement. The numbers showed that the brand had tripled her prior yearly commitment. Globe Telecom, which hired 8-year-old Eala as an ambassador before anybody knew her name, extended their collaboration with language, clearly linking her choice to the principles they had recognized in her when she was younger. A third significant global brand acted quickly after observing the cultural moment with keen business intelligence. Athletes that surpass their category and attain what marketers refer to as values alignment are referred to by a word in the business. Times when an athlete's actions have a greater impact than their victories. At a magnitude seldom seen outside of Olympic storylines, this was that moment. In a time when athletes frequently use philanthropy as personal branding industry, observers were fascinated by the mechanics. AL's act of conviction since it didn't follow the typical format of a sponsored charity project. There was no co-branded announcement coordinating the gesture with a product cycle, no foundation launch event, and no documentary camera accompanying her to the recipient site. Just the money back, explained simply. Sponsors have an innate, instantaneous, and enduring understanding of authenticity, much like viewers. Ollie recovered the award money she gave away in a product that sponsors, regardless of budget, are unable to provide. True moral authority. The criticism persisted. Serious voices persisted in raising concerns about whether individual charitable deeds mask structural flaws in sports finance systems and whether players from developing countries were unfairly pressured to make sacrifices in addition to their sporting prowess as a result of ALA's accolades. Whether applauding her choice normalized expectations that ought to be focused on institutional change instead. These were frank and significant discussions. And Eala herself, as usual, did not brush them off. This doesn't fix the system. It's one player making one choice. The structure needs to change, but while it changes, I want to do what I can inside it. She admitted